Hey guys, welcome back to Deck Techs because I finally brought them back because I'm finally back because yay. But this is my sapling deck. This is a new deck I just created about a couple weeks ago or so. The deck tech is going to be in the description from now on because I got all my decks on tapped out now, so it should be easier for you to should be easier if I don't go over everything and you want to know what certain things do. So, this is Sapling of Colfenor. He is a 5 mana 2/5 indestructible tree folk shaman. Whenever he attacks, I reveal the top card of my library, and if it's a creature card, I gain life equal to its toughness, lose life equal to its power, and add that card to my hand. Meaning this deck likes big butts, tree folk inherently have big butts, lots of trees. It's gonna happen. Okay? So, let's start with our lands, as is typical. We have, for basic lands, we have 13 swamps and 16 forests, because we need more forests, because a lot of tree folk have a lot of synergy with forests. For non-basics, we have Llanowar Wastes, because it was easy to get. Jungle Hollow, because again, it was easy to get. And a Russian Temple of Melody, because I had one. Also, Grim Backwoods, because it has trees in the picture. Also, it's a sacrifice outlet. Next, we'll do the artifacts, which, if you probably were looking, you probably already saw this. Foil World Slayer, because World Slayer with Sapling is hilarious. Also, this combo has pissed off a lot of people. Like, I've ended so many games, well, I've only ended a couple games because most of the time people just get rid of the World Slayer as soon as they can, but otherwise it's really mean, and it's you surrender now or you get poked to death by my commander. And then we have Sword of Feast and Famine, because I picked one up. It's great for commander, and it's cool with Sapling and other things. Ring of Three Wishes, because it's a repeatable tutor, and there's a lot of tutors in this deck in the sense for me, just so I can get World Slayer. For mana rocks, we have Soul Ring and Weatherseed Totem, because it turns into a tree. For actual creatures, we have, starting with the trees, Fendeep Summoner, because he can turn my swamps into trees for the turn. Black Poplar Shaman, because he can regenerate my trees. Treefolk Seedlings, because it can have a really big butt. Bosk Banneret, because it reduces the cost of all my trees. Leaf Crowned Eldor, because it helps me cheat trees into play. Treefolk Harbinger, because it tutors for trees. For Loth the Ancient, because it's a lord for trees and produces baby trees, saplings. Great Oak Guardian, because he's a tree and he can flash in and he pumps the team. Also reach. Weed Pruner Poplar, removal, but on top of that, if you look at those subtypes, he's a tree folk assassin. He's a tree, but he's also an assassin. I don't know how that logically makes any sense, but he's a tree folk assassin. Canker Abomination, 4 mana 6/6 tree. Timber Protector is probably one of the better cards in the deck in the sense that he is a tree that gives he's a lord for the trees. He also gives them all indestructible, including my forests. Except for himself, of course. Deadwood Treefolk, Recursion Tree. Thorntooth Witch, Removal Tree. Oak Gnarl Warrior, Big Dumb Tree. Seed Guide Ash, tree that makes more trees. Wickerbow Elder, tree that destroys things. Argothian Treefolk, tree that apparently doesn't like artifacts, I guess. Whatever. Orchard Warden, tree that likes to gain me life. Everbark Shaman, tree that helps me get lands if my trees are dying and I can't bring them back. Ambassador Oak, because trees are apparently friends with elves. Tilling Treefolk, in case there's that land destruction person in your group, which there are quite a few in my group. Cloud Crown Oak, because reaching tree. Lumber Knot, because creatures die and trees need to be bigger, apparently. Dauntless Doorbark, because big tree. Ebony Treefolk, because cheap tree that can pump itself. Battle Wand Oak, because same reason as the Tree Folk. Also, it's a tree. Unstoppable Ash, because really stupidly good tree. That has synergies with the ones that have enter the battlefield triggers or like the -1/-1 counters do. Weatherseed Tree Folk, because tree. Also, he's the actual creature form of Weatherseed Totem. Sheltering Ancient, because tree that can give other people counters because reasons. I don't politic tree. That's what I was going for. Skullbriar, because I have an alternate commander in case I ever want to play one. Also, he kind of looks tree-ish. Duplicant, because removal for Iona. Acidic Slime, because it can destroy things. Llanowar Elves, filler, also mana ramp. Teamer Sabertooth, because it can save things and block fairly effectively. Deathcap Cultivator, because mana dork that can also eventually have Death Touch. And on to the sorceries. Okay. Nisa's Pilgrimage, because trees. So, continuing. Sylvan Scrying, because it tutors for things. Trees. Forests. Trees. Edge of Autumn. More trees. Nature's Lore. More trees. Genesis Wave, which can get more trees. Also, it fit better in here than it did in my other deck. See the Unwritten. More trees. Also, similar reason to Genesis Wave. Victimize, because it's foil, and it's filler, and it's recursion. Life and Death, because it can turn my trees into things, and it can recur my trees. Treasured Find, because recursion of trees. Diabolic Tutor, because tutor. Traverse the Ulvenwald, which can get trees, or more trees. It's a tutor. Behold the Beyond, because late game tutor for 3 things. Yay! And on to the instants. We have Root Grapple, because it's a tree. It's technically a tree. Also, I draw a card for having a tree. Also, it destroys things. Reach of Branches puts trees into play, and for every time I play it, every time my forest comes into play under my control, I get to add it back to my hand and get more trees. Cankerous Thirst, because it has a tree on it, and it's removed. Also, I'm dropping cards. Oh well. Vines of Vastwood, because it protects Sapling and other things. Also, I've used it offensively. Rending Vines, because removal of artifacts and enchantments. Also drawing cards. Putrefy, because removal. Again. Wretched Confluence, because all of the modes. And on to the next one, after I pick up all of my cards that I dropped. Yay. So enchantments. Living Terrain, because it turns my lands into a tree. Hidden Agents, because it's an enchantment that turns into a tree. Lignify, because turning my opponent's things into trees. As for Assault Formation. Sorry. Because my things that have big butts need to swing with their butts, obviously. If they're big butts, use the big butts. Gift of the Deity, because turning Sapling into a really mean taunting elf is hilarious. Necrogenesis, because graveyard decks are a thing. Also, it produces baby trees. And our last card in the deck is Liliana Vess, because tutor. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick deck, because trees, and more trees, and more trees. All of the trees. Also, push all the buttons, like the comment button, and the subscribe button, and the like button. You can press the dislike button, but I'd prefer if you don't. Although it would help me to know that I'm not doing that great, and I should up my game, even though this isn't much of a game. But press all of the buttons, blow things up. I don't really care. And I will see you guys in the next video I make. Maybe technically I won't see you because I produce these at home alone. I dare